I have a really hard time telling my story. It's not only painful, but it causes me to have night terrors because I have PTSD from some of the harder times I endured. I only do this now because without Miss Robin and Miss Tina or Miss Patricia and the opportunities and support they gave me to help me grow as a person and help mold me into the strong, dependable, independent worker that I am. Working with the ladies at the Sweet Addiction helped give me the confidence I had lost along the way. As I said before, I don't like speaking about the past because of how much I had to overcome, but I'll give you an idea of what I went through. My home life wasn't the best. My mom was raising all of us by herself and working all she could, and she struggled with her own demons. She seemed to dislike me the most, and when she became angry, she became violent. I was molested, and when I told her, I was accused of lying. I started using drugs at age 13, mostly marijuana and Xanax, but that led to harder drugs as the years passed by. By the time I was in high school, I was also drinking, smoking cigarettes, doing cocaine and acid. I got pregnant a couple of times, but always miscarried. I had my first child at age 20. I was introduced to meth at age 21. I had my second child at age 23. My oldest child's father set me up so that he could get custody of our child, and when he did, I became really lost. I got into some trouble and had to go to jail, so my youngest son was with my mom, but she was still trying to raise her own kids, so she sent my son to his paternal grandmother. When I was released, I did good for a while, but then my youngest child's father OD'd and died. I used it as an excuse to use. I spiraled out of control. I wound up with a guy who beat me severely. The first time he sold me was to a friend of his for a debt to be cleared and more drugs to be given. And when I refused, he beat me unconscious and then allowed the guy to have his way with me. This went on and on. I wish I could say he was the only person to treat me like this, but it would be a lie. The next guy I got with was even worse. He not only beat me for whatever reason he could find, but he was also trying to kill me by feeding me arsenic and cyanide in food and drinks. The list of poor choices goes on and on. The devil wears many faces, and I think I dated them all. I wound up in prison a total of 3 times. Most of my adult life was either behind bars or using. I had never known God or anything about him. I wasn't raised in a church. So in 2016, when I was arrested for the billionth time, I found God. Things started changing inside of me as I read my Bible, and when it got time for me to be released in 2019, I was terrified. I didn't want to be let out on parole to my mother's house because the drug dealers that I sold for had me on mobile patrol. And when someone is released, everybody's notified through this app. And it happened to me before, so I had it in my mind that I was going to do better. I begged the parole board to postpone my out date until I could find a place far enough where my past wouldn't bother coming to see me and put me back on drugs. I was accepted into Doors of Hope in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. With this 12-month program, I started to learn how to live and make decisions with a clean mindset. I graduated the 12 months and went into aftercare, which is another 6 months, but instead of being on site, you rent one of their houses. In 2021, myself and another girl from the program, we got ourselves a place in Christiana, Tennessee. Jenny, my roommate, had gotten a job with Miss Robin, and within a few months, she talked me into going for an interview just to see how it went. I was working at a restaurant at that time, and the boss was cutting my hours back because I had been sick and had to take time off. And when I tried to come back, he wouldn't put me back on the schedule full time. And I couldn't afford to lose what I had struggled so hard to build. Everything was always still fragile. I was new in sobriety and still new in my Christianity. I spoke with Miss Robin, and she gave me basically a trial run for a week with no hard feelings if it wasn't for me. Long story short, it was for me. The women there are amazing. They love deeply, and they have no judgment of you or your past. They want to see you grow and bloom. And that's exactly what I did. I grew and bloomed, blossomed and bloomed. I was taught skill sets that are needed to flourish in the workplace and given guidance and love and support. I learned so much there, and I gained so much confidence in myself and what I could offer to a company. I would still be with Miss Robin in the sweet addiction had circumstances not arose that resulted in me having to move home. I carried the tools they equipped me with and got a job and rose quickly through the ranks of the materials department. My title at the time of the plant shutting down was Decal Coordinator. I'm now embarking on a new journey that once again I credit to Miss Robin and the sweet addiction. I am opening my own business. Miss Robin taught me so many things. She never gave up on me, and she never let me give up on myself. She was the first person to look at my background and say, "So what? That was then. What are you going to do now?" She has a fire for people like me that were victims of sex trafficking and drug addiction. She doesn't do as the rest of the world and condemn us. She loves us as we learn to love ourselves.